My next business networking event is on Wednesday, March the 13th. If you're a business owner and you want to learn how you can scale your business or just connect with other people that are in business, then you need to come to my event because you're going to get all sort of people there in different industries that you are going to get to connect with. And look, you just never know, right? You might meet the right person and it just might change your net worth. So it's so important you come to business networking events so you can build connections and ultimately grow your businesses. So if you haven't got your tickets, the tickets will be in the link below. Okay, so from there, I remember we had a little chat and you said, look, I think it was 50 grand,
Yes,
50 grand,
yes.
40 grand, 50 grand investment. And we sat down, we had a little chat and it just didn't, the plan wasn't correct at that time. And I
Yes,
said,
yeah.
look, I don't know about this. And then from there, where did you go? What did you do?
So from there, I sort of, obviously I didn't stop.
Yeah.
I just sort of started looking for other opportunities.
Yeah.
And I started working with the Business Growth Hub just to get that business idea, just get
What's
it
the Business
solid.
Growth Hub?
So it's a local, it's a Manchester like organization
Okay.
that helps start up businesses.
Okay.
So what they do, they were funded up until Brexit. So
Okay.
they were funded by the EU.
Yeah.
So they would provide free mentorship, free support.
Really?
If you wanted to start a business, you'd go to them, they'd give you a business mentor and a mentor for every area of
Got
your
it.
business.
Yep.
So I signed up for all of that because I didn't have actual experience of running a business.
Yep.
I signed up for that, and then it started becoming clearer what I needed to do and where I needed to go
Got
in
it,
order
got it.
to get the funding.
Yep.
And also how this, the direction of the whole business.
Yep.
And so once I got that, it took me an incredible and unbelievable 19 applications for funding.
Really?
And getting turned down.
It took you 19 applications to get
19,
funded?
yes.
Wow.
And every time I got a no, because I'm the person that I am, I would go back and say why.
To just understand.
Yeah, and sometimes they'll tell you, and sometimes they'll just say the computer says no.
Wow.
But then the one thing that I picked up, the one common thing that I picked up there, it was my background, me being a woman, me being black, and me being, not having experience in the particular industry
Yeah.
that I was going. So they were saying, oh, so you run a cleaning business and you want to start a food business. Where's the relationship? So it was difficult to explain that I'm using the income from this business to feed into this idea.
Yeah.
But this is the one thing, this is my passion.
Yeah.
This is the one thing that I really want to do.
Yeah.
So every single time I'd get a no, I'd ask why, I'd get a no. But I just kept going because I believed in this thing so much. I could just see it working.
I admire 19 people give up after 3-4 times, so you went 19 times.
And if you've been
thought, I'm not
through an
stopping.
application
Wow.
for funding, you would know it's quite long.
Yep.
And they were all quite lengthy, and they needed lots and lots of information, business plan, cash flow, and all of this. But I kept going, because
And what were you applying for?
I just needed a startup loan.
Like
a startup loan,
10, 20 grand or
25K. I just
Wow.
couldn't get that at all.
Wow.
I
Okay.
couldn't get that at all. Nobody trusted me with that.
Wow. Okay.
But
okay.
in the end, I got to an organization. I don't think they're trading now, but they were an ethical lender. So they say to me, we don't lend to what experience is the idea, is the passion, is the whole package that we look at. And straight away we clicked because I ticked all of their boxes. It was no longer about the computer. It was about people.
Yeah, it's about.
And I think we need more of that.
100%.
We need more of, forget what the computer says. Tell me about you.
Yep.
And if you and I can connect at that level,
Yep.
and if we make that connection, then you'd be able to say, you know what, I love your idea and I'll invest in you. But the computer is simply ticking boxes saying that she's black, she's a mother,
Yeah.
they would just come to me and say, there's no way you can run a business. You're best staying at home and looking after the kids.
Yeah,
good.
No good.
So I finally got my break.
Yeah.
Got a little bit of money to develop the packaging for the products.
Yeah.
I managed to get a contract with a factory in Manchester to start producing the products.
Yeah.
And that's when I got my first retail listing with Ocado.
So as a young Asian girl, what are the challenges you face so far, like just in business and just in like life general? What are the challenges that you have faced?
I think a lot, to
Or
be
have you been
honest.
blessed?
Oh, I wish I was blessed. Not, to be honest, when I started in property when I was like 18.
Yeah.
I remember going into the bank and they looked at me and they were like, because I'm really petite, right? So I went into the bank 18 years old. So I look even younger than actual my
yeah.
age. And I remember the lady and she was literally like, oh, so where's mum and dad? I was like, no, I'm doing the application myself. She literally looked at me and she was like, oh. She called a manager over and they were like, oh, come back with mum and dad. I was like, no, I want to do this myself kind of thing.
Yeah,
But obviously, young, naive, and it's kind of like, no, this is kind of like what I want to do. And they were like, no. And then that's when I went into kind of like using a broker and stuff. But I think kind of like the chat, especially kind of like in this industry, very male dominated.
It is, isn't it?
I think when I started back a couple of years ago, and when I used to go to networking events, it was literally spot the female in the event. Obviously now there's quite a lot of kind of like
There's a lot more now, isn't it?
there's a lot more, and it's really nice.
Yeah.
You go to some of these really big events and stuff, and there's loads of females and stuff. And I remember going to them, and it used to be really awkward because it would be like the middle-aged old man, without me being stereotypical or anything, but literally.
Well, that's true though, isn't
it's
it?
the middle-aged old man that's literally there, and it's kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I absolutely hate going to them. To be honest, I still hate going to them, but now I'm kind of
What
like...
networking events?
Yeah, I still hate them, to be honest.
What part do you hate about the networking events?
I think it's kind of like social
is
anxiety.
awkward, isn't it?
It's really awkward. But then it's kind of like you've got to put in your head that everyone's feeling the same.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of like, I don't have social anxiety. I'm really loud and talkative, but it's like if you see me at a networking event, I'm so quiet. And it's really not me kind of thing.
You suffer from anxiety?
Yeah.
What is anxiety? Do you know what anxiety is?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like something that happens all of a sudden, but it's like a rush in you that's going to... For example, when I was going to the Savoys event, the one that I went to last,
Yeah.
I got out my car, going to the actual event. I've walked up to the steps. I've literally panicked. And I'm not even joking, I've literally turned around, walked back to my car, I'm going home. Because all of a sudden I've got this kind of like panic within me, like, oh my God, like I don't want to go kind of thing.
Yeah. So how do you deal with it then?
But then I got a call from one of the girls and they were like, oh, are you here? And I was like, stupidly, I was like, yeah, I will meet you inside. I was like, for fuck's sake. I was like, okay, I've got to go inside. I don't know. That's why I stopped going networking. I didn't go for so long and I don't know why. And it's kind of like, I think the accountability things that I do with like Shara and stuff, it's really good. But very few people know that I had an actual kind of like, what do you call them? I'm not really a therapist, but kind of a therapist. But I had one for like 6-7 months. She was amazing.
Okay.
But at the time, it's kind of like, it's really hard because when you get these kind of like doubts within yourself, you overthink, it's kind of like you're self-employed. Yes, you can turn to family, but in my mind, it used to always be kind of like, oh, I'm burdening them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like all my friends used to come to me with their problems, and I was like, oh, I know their problems, and I don't want to go with them with my problems.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like all of a sudden you're like, I'm on my own.
See, like even for us adults, us going to like flipping networking events, I know how daunting that can be. Even like, especially if you're like a bit like you're a bit shy person or you don't like engaging with people. How was it for you like when you was that young going to networking? Because it wouldn't have been many people that are 16 up there, 17, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of events or a lot of rooms where I was like the youngest person in the room, and it wasn't, I wouldn't find it hard because I get along with adults a lot better than I got on with people my own age, just because where their mind was, mine wasn't. So for me, it wasn't as bad. It was just when it comes to trying to talk to somebody older and they kind of like shrug you off or make you feel a bit crappy because you're younger.
You don't belong here
type of thing. And I've had that feeling before, but me coming from where I come from Antigua, that's where I came from, and I got past the feeling of being like, told to go away. So when they was telling me to like go away, I make my voice heard, but actually, excuse me, I actually have a question. And because of the way I came across and the way I sounded, and they turned around and looked like, who the heck is speaking like that? They saw like this skinny little 16-year-old girl and me with a notepad and a pen, and I'll just stand there blinking at them until they answered my question.
Yeah.
So it was
one of those worked
things,
for you.
Yeah, it was one of those things that you had to assert yourself, and the knowledge helped. I could use my big words because I had them. as my
yeah.
ammunition, and that's my only ammunition.
Okay, okay. Well, that's good too, because it is like a bit of a, you know, property is a bit of a, like a man's world, isn't it? Like even like this, you go to certain networking events or older people, and it's different. I think now certain parts it is a lot of younger people, but imagine back then, like that was 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
So then fast forward, then what happened?
Again, went to different networking events. I joined different like networking companies and
Yeah.
learned basically to sell. And I found an issue with selling because the person that I am and the person that they wanted me to be was just not merging. It wasn't part of something I want to do. My nature was just like, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And-
What, selling, you mean, yeah?
Yeah,
Did
selling.
you find it cringy?
I
Like,
find, yeah, the way that they were selling was a really old-fashioned way of selling, and I knew this, it was an old-fashioned way because they had me reading books like Dale Carnegie, which, I mean, for Dale's time, in the 60s, people like me, they wouldn't buy a stone from. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was just not tailored to people of my complexion or my gender, you know, or my background. It was just not for me at all. I'm not rich. I'm born into a broke family. I don't go to prep schools. I'm black, first of all. I'm female, and it's just all the no's. For me to read Dale Carnegie's book and try to implement that at that time, it was just, I was like, there's no point, might as well burn it. When it came into property, and I was at a networking event and I was pregnant with my daughter, and I was thinking like, I need to make this work.
Yeah.
And I just thought I had to make something work because my daughter cannot be born broke, and it was just something, a curse that I wanted to break, because it's happened to my mum, everybody in my ancestry, so I'm not wanting to do that for my child. It wasn't working, the networking events.
you were 18, 19 here, though, yeah? Right, okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't working. And I thought I need something more secure, because at these networking events, they kind of just sell you a dream. You got to build a team, you got to do this, you got to do that, but they have to pay this and pay that, and it was just not working for me. I've tried it, it didn't work. I did trading, I did like Avon, my mum did this clean easy thing, a bunch of different pyramid scheme kind of event things, if I'm allowed to say that. After that, I thought I'll go to property, because property is the safest thing that I know that works.
Yeah.
And I needed to learn more about how the government does property in the UK. So if there's any chance for me to actually get into that. At this point, my credit history is like, because I'd be using it to get to these events and pay for things, because that's what they promote you to do. They promote you to get in debt, so then you can make it back out of the debt, and good debt and all that kind of stuff. So now I'm in debt. My credit score is naff, and I can't get a loan, but I will go ahead and get the knowledge. So I did that, and then fast forward up to now, just pre-COVID, I went to a property event, my first paid property event, and I spent, I think it was $2,500, to go to the initial week-long event, and it was in Essex. And I was pregnant with my son at this point.
Yeah.
My daughter's staying at my mum's. And it was hard because I was like 7 or 8 months pregnant. So the trimester is when it's the hardest trimester to get through. But I still went because I meant I had to go there. And we was there, and we was learning all this stuff, and they was promoting all these different companies and website this, and cleaning that, and supply and services this, and they was promoting all these companies. We ended up paying £600 for a website at the event, and then by the end of the event, we ended up spending another 10 to 15k to go on to a year-long training. So it wasn't even the worst of it, because there's another guy there that spent like £25,000
Really?
on one sitting.
Was this on one strategy or just everything in front?
It's supposed to be like everything. He was supposed to go with you to the course, go through the course with you and help you buy your first property, basically,
Right,
help you get
okay.
your step on the ladder. And
So hold your hand,
hold your hand.
That's
and
how
take
they
you.
sold it, yeah?
That's how he sold it.
Right.
So I'm looking at it, and I'm realizing that all these people, this is after I've paid, by the way, so we've paid it. My partner and I scrimped and saved and worked like graveyard shifts and everything to manage to get like a pool of 10 grand, and we said, okay, we're going to go here, we're going to learn what we need to learn, and then he's going to show us how to buy a property, or how to invest in a property. And we've got 10 grand, so we're supposed to get in on a good foot. Comes to find out that we don't have enough for the both of us to do it, so he cut us a deal, and we ended up spending the whole of our £10,000 and then some, that we were supposed to pay to buy a house. And had we have done that, we'd have been better off now, but we didn't. We spent it on him.
Is this the course we met at, or is it?
No, it was a course prior to that.
Right, okay.
And then,
Wow, so you already spent like...
yeah, Yeah, in total, we managed to spend about £15,000 at that one event.
Hella free, yeah.
Coming out of it, and it was just one of those ones like, okay, this absolutely positively has to work. You can't put people in that mindset, you know, and promise them these things, your time, you're going to handhold them, walk them through when they've spent such a large amount, because you don't know how they got that money. And quite frankly, they don't care how you get the money. He promised to basically guide us through the whole process. Turns out that we paid 15 grand for an online course. We tried to call him, we get like call center staff type thing happening. We tried to, you know, email him, we don't get no response. We tried to speak to his partner, nothing. So basically there is no direct contact with the person you spent 15 grand to have contact with. And after that, it was just like a mental point where I broke, like completely broke, because I'm already hormonal with the baby, and we've just spent like 15k, and we are trying to make this thing work so bad, and they're not responding to us. We've been scammed essentially, like.
Yeah.
And it was hard for us because it took us so long to get to the point where we can probably put a deposit on a smaller house, maybe the house that we was living in, because we had like a small 2-bedroom house at the point, and we'd be able to progress from there. You know, regardless of what would have happened, we could have been like, you know, bare walls, but we'd at least know that we owned the house that we're living in. And it was just one of those, it was heartbreaking, and it was just, I almost quit at that point. But we thought, like, you know what, cool, we'll pick up from here, we'll start over, we'll look for somebody else who can mentor us, because that's what we needed, just the mentorship. Everything else we already had, and everybody wants to do mindset. Mindset is already there, it's set, it's locked. I've been doing mindset from 16 up until like 22, 23.
Yeah.
So my mindset game is already locked. Now I'm trying to get to the next step. And we came across an event that cost £1 to go to, so we went there. At the offset, we got more than we bargained for £1.
Cost £1.
Yeah, cost £1. So we went there because we didn't have anybody at this time. We're broke at this point. So we went there, and you know, he was giving it all of this, and I was enthralled. Like, I was there, I was pregnant. Met the guy's wife, and his wife was there, and she was pregnant at the same time as well. And she was just like, I can't believe you came to this event and you're pregnant. I was just like, but you're here and you're pregnant. He's like, yeah, but that's my husband up there. I was like, yeah, I know, but the fact is, you're here, you're pregnant, you didn't have to be here. That is your husband up there, which means you could be sitting comfortable with your feet up. So, you know, we clicked, and I was talking to her, and she was, you know, it was lovely. She's a lovely person. I love her to bits. But then at the same time, I came there to get what I came there for. So because I was pregnant, I used that, and I walked around, I was talking to people, and people tried to ignore me. And it was the fact that I was pregnant, and I looked about 15. By this time, I'm 23, but I look about 15 at that point, and these lot were looking at me like, how old are you? And I was just like, my age.
Who's asking you that?
That people that I go up to and ask for things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like information or contact details, ask me how old am I, and you know, how far along I am, and da. I was like, yeah.
Regular questions, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm like, all of that's irrelevant. I'm here to learn what I came here to learn. And then the sign up thing happened for the back of the class, and I was just like, do I really want to?
Is this where we met, yeah?
No,
Oh,
it was before that one. Before we met, because this is the event that you had to go to sign up to get to the event where we met.
Ah.
So I was there, and I was contemplating so hard, do I spend another £3,500 on top of the £15,000 that I already spent? I did that. Ended up at the event that you met. I had my baby. I had to book the event to the one that we met at.
How many kids you got?
2.
Okay.
So I had to book the event to after I gave birth, because obviously you can't travel and do all that stuff when you give birth. The baby was so young. So the event that we met at, I left my small child with my mum and my mum and my siblings, and we came to the event where we met you at. And at this time, after COVID, and COVID has just happened, and it took about 2 years, and we had to reschedule it to come to the one where we met at. And it was good, in the sense that I learned things that I didn't know before. I learned easier ways to do things that I did know how to do. So all in all, it was good. Met people, met you.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get onto the next course, because I wanted to do the next thing.
You wanted to learn more, and you always like that, innit? What's the next thing?
What's the next thing? What do I do next? But nobody would tell me without paying, and it's just like, I don't have any more money. Like, I've spent my last to get here, you know this, because I spoke to you about it. We had a whole deliberation on how am I going to make this money to get here. Now you're coming in. I came to your event. I had to not even save money just for your event, but the transportation, the hotel,
It's all
food I'm
cost,
gonna
innit?
eat.
Yeah. Everything, yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And these people was just like, they didn't care. They're like, I understand that, and they try to sympathize, like they pretend to sympathize with you. And one thing about me is I don't like bearing my emotions to humans because I don't trust them with my emotions. And I have a trigger, and you know what I mean, it's just one of those things where you can't play with my emotions like that and just expect me to be okay. And
Let's go back one sec. So you know when you was like 18, 19, you knew you wanted to do property. Did you know for sure you wanted to do property?
Yeah, I always knew I wanted to do property. From since I was 16, I always knew what it was. But I didn't have money. My family don't have money. I had no investment capital. I didn't know that there was other ways to do it without money, which there isn't. You need money.
What age was you when you know people talk about your purpose, finding your purpose?
Yeah.
When did you actually really figure out your purpose and find your purpose?
I think about 18, and my whole purpose is to make sure that I can retire my mum. Like when I say retire it as in country way, and you make your mark. That's my whole purpose. I had opportunities again thrown at me left, right and centre, but the way that they wanted me to make that mark is not the way I wanted to do it. I wanted to be known for this. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be known for, okay, you took the time out, you educate yourself, you invested the time to get your knowledge, but they wanted me to do this. And I'm just like, this fades, like, you know what I mean? What's up here won't fade. I can pass what's up here on for generations to come. What's physical is not gonna stay forever. I'm gonna get older. It's just gonna happen to the point where it's not gonna be valuable anymore.